Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today at Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the super, mega, ultra, uber sensitivity of Indians, the subcontinent Indians, when it comes to what they perceive or what they manage to perceive. And they try very hard, but they manage to perceive as some sort of racism, no matter how sort of incidental or low level others may see it. They become hysterical over it and get into a serious lather. Their national newspapers will cover it. Their federal parliament will be up in arms. Politicians will try and outdo each other by how tough they're going to get on these racist folks around the world that mistreat Indians. The foreign minister has been told to, Parliament orders him to get tough for these damn white countries, the fucking Nazi fascists they are, and so on. So you may, well, gee, this is, wow, if it federal parliament, the foreign minister, the national newspapers screaming, the online newspapers, wow, it must be really serious, like maybe, murder and so on. But no, actually, an Indian who was a member of some student union group at some white country overseas, not in India, overseas, was dismissed from her role. That was it. Well, it can't be that. What, federal parliament questions, screaming hysteria, half-hour-long documentaries about how evil white people are and how terribly Indians are treated overseas and this sort of thing. So, no, that was it. That was it. That's all it takes to get the Indians in a lather these days. Now, I'm one that says that Indians make very bad. Look, there are exceptions, okay, but generally Indians make very bad citizens in other countries. Now, not only do Indians, after 5 or 6 generations in the West, still perceive themselves to be Indians and Hindus, and stick very, very tightly to that, but also the Indian government in India still perceives themselves as representing 5th and 6th generation Indians who are anywhere overseas. So the relationship is tight. The Indian government, is there to stand up for the rights of Indians who have been 5 or 6 generations outside of India, as in born outside of India. The Indian government still sees us. They still see themselves tied and tightly connected to the overseas or international Indian diaspora. So go figure that. But anyway, so let's have a little look. Let's do a dive into this sort of thing that's happened. This student union thing that the Indians are screaming racism by, those evil damn fascist Nazi white people. So an Indian girl, she's like 21 or something, an Indian young woman from a well-to-do upper caste family, a family, by the way, that can spend $50,000 for the first year of her education. So we're talking, in Indian terms at least, someone who's very wealthy. And bear in mind, India is a basket case. India is their average annual GDP, average annual GDP, is about $1,500 or $1,700 per head if you per capita, if you look at it that way. So that's that is poor. That's competing with some of the poorest countries in Africa. That's how poor India is. Now, 75% of the Indian population are dirt poor peasants living on barter. You walk across their dead bodies in the street. And there's a population of, 60 million, give or take, that are the Brahmins, the upper class, and they do very well at the expense of the poor people. And they believe they've been ordained by the cosmic forces of the universe to sit atop the social caste system of India, and these people, the Brahmins, are very, very entitled. They have never forgiven the British for supplanting them as the powerful force, the controlling force in India, and knocking those Brahmins off their pedestal of being ordained by the cosmic forces of the universe to be the natural rulers. They've never forgiven the British for that, and they still can't stop talking about it today, even though the British haven't been around for 75 years or something. So just looking at this incident, though, the one that got everyone so worked up. So this girl from a very rich Indian family decided to go to a university in Britain, quite a prestigious one, and could afford to pay the money. She was previously at some a university outpost in India where the rich people just bribe the lecturers and so on, and the university deans and administrators to give their kids a glowing degree or master's or PhD, whatever it is. But so she goes to a British university. Now, bear in mind that the amount of propaganda in the Indian newspapers, online, Indian chat forums, that sort of thing, is that Britain, for example, or all white countries, and uniquely white countries, are all incredibly racist against Indians. Not just a little bit, not just somewhat, but really like off the planet. They are fucking fascist Nazi Hitlers. Indians fear for their life from the minute they get off the plane or the boat in for example, England. Their lives are in danger. And the stories on the chat, and I was walking down the main street of London, and all these white guys came up and they just beat me in the face. They hit me in the face. They kicked the shit out of me. They beat that crap out of me. I almost died. But I decided to stay and complete my education over 3 to 4 years. And so that again, the chat rooms are awash with all this wicked, evil racism, which is beyond hysterical. And the various people posting, clearly trying to outdo each other. Indian woman, I was raped, and these white guys raped me, and then the next guy, you got rid of 100 white guys raped me, 1,000 white guys raped me, and then Hitler came along and raped me after, and on it goes. These stories that are just beyond fantastic. So white people are running around in large groups, beating Indians up, raping Indians, stealing from them, doing the most outrageous things. And I went to the police and they just don't care because they're so racist, and the police beat me up as well. And because they're fucking racist, they're all Hitler. But if you look at the most popular destination for Indians to go to, Britain is either first or second, and it can go up and down over the years. Yeah. But so for this incredibly evil and racist, where Indians are getting beaten and murdered and raped by the hundreds of millions, not just thousands, hundreds of thousands of millions, hundreds of millions. The population of India 1 million times over has been murdered and killed just going there. It's a tough fucking place. Yet somehow it always ends up at the top of their list of places to visit. Oh, go figure that. So this girl decides to, she's at the British University, decides that she wants to become, I think it was president or chairman or something of the students' union or some student body in this university. So now, for anyone that understands anything about the West and about Britain, the British nation or white nations everywhere are tearing themselves to pieces over affirmative action and all this sort of thing. Indians in Australia by the triple truckload of being gifted in government, and in multinationals are being gifted jobs they're nowhere near qualified to be doing, purely on the basis of affirmative action and the quotas. So this idea that Indians are discriminated against is just beyond absurd. It's just insanity to even say it. And if they perceive it, it must be an invention. They must be doing drugs at the back or something. How you could even think that's beyond me. Now, you could think that if you were so super entitled that you believe that as soon as you get off the plane that there should be millions of white people bowing at your feet and giving you jobs and offering you jobs and begging forgiveness for daring to be white or that. So maybe that, if you had that level of entitlement, you could possibly think it, but not in any other universe. So somehow this girl that wants to get the presidency or whatever it was, the chairmanship of the student union, and already the university is effectively saying that they're only going to give it to a non-white person and they would prefer it's a female. So she's starting way out in front. Yeah, white males just don't bother even applying. You're not going to get it. Now, the Indian media seem to be strangely silent on that point. They don't acknowledge that these quotas and affirmative action even exist, or they pretend not to know it exists. But so clearly this brown girl's got I don't think she was a lesbian, but clearly she's got a head start over all the white people. Now, on top of that, somehow she finds a very substantial sum of money to run around doing online and all sorts of other promotions. Now, the people who are backing her or her, it's not quite clear which, spend more money than all the other candidates combined. In fact, 3 times more than all the other candidates combined. So not surprisingly, she gets up with the votes. So white people aren't allowed to run for it, or certainly not allowed to win it anyway. Males aren't really allowed to win it. So she's got the brown and the female thing. She's got it pretty much in the bag, and she's spending shitloads of money, or someone is, so she gets up. Now, as it turns out, some people are rather miffed by this. Now, in addition, no sooner has she arrived in the role than she starts using the platform as an Indian nationalist propaganda platform. Even though she's in a white country and in a white university, she decides that her role is to push Indian nationalist propaganda. So Winston Churchill is a fascist Nazi, British slavery, the British are racist, evil Nazis, and goes on and on. But on top of that, she makes quite a few claims online, as I understand, at least, that were viewed as anti-Islamic and anti-Jewish and other claims or allegations were made about posts that she'd tweeted before, particularly anti-Islamic ones. So the Islamic elements and this university were rather put out, and as indeed were others. And so when these tweets were exposed, or online postings, whether they were exposed, it was decided she was too hot to handle, and after quite a lot of pressure and carry on, was asked to stand down. The university were very reluctant to do it. They wanted to showcase, look, female and brown, look, we're not racist, look. And in a pathetic, craven action that these white universities just fall over themselves to do these days. I mean, it makes you sick, really. And they were very reluctant to let her go. But given the exposure of these online comments, she was invited to not be present anymore. But the university got their revenge, and another Indian woman was elected after her in what was clearly a setup and a fix. Not that the Indian media saw that. They see that Indian people, if they win, are totally entitled, absolutely entitled to it. But if the Indians don't win, it was fucking racism and fucking fascism and Hitler. So anyway, how do the Indian media sort of cover this? Britain has a history of racism from slavery and from all sorts of bad things they did to brown people. And then it goes on. Then they'll jump on to Meghan Markle said that she was a victim of racism. Whoa, well, that's it. That must be true in that case. Whoa, Meghan Markle said it. And then they'll go straight into other things. So they portray the British, only white people. Now, not most, but the majority of the people who were, well, no, it was most, who were complaining about this Indian girl in the university, they weren't white. but the Indian media skirt neatly past that. They don't accept there's anything such as quotas and affirmative action. They don't accept that there were outside forces funding this girl's elevate. They don't accept she was using it as a platform to spread hatred against white people and Islamic Jews and so on. No, they don't accept any of that. She was Indian, and it was racist. What happened to her was racist. That she got the job was entitlement. That she lost the job was pure racism. So anything that's negative in any way to Indian people, no matter how justified, no matter how much they've brought it on themselves, is racism. And that the Indian government, for anyone who's got Indian genetics in them, the Indian government is required, must do something about it. Foreign ambassadors must be summoned in to get a good dressing down for their white wickedness. You're not allowed to treat Indians that way. And so the Indian national and the message boards and comment boards, we need to be top dog in the world so we can show all those fucking white people that we're in charge now. And they can damn well get on the ground and eat our shit, because that's what they're supposed to do, and because they can't say bad things about it. So it's sensitivity that's quite childlike, and it's like a scatterbrained schoolgirl who's been doing lines of coke off the toilet seat. They're that jumpy and that sort of ready to take offence at anything that's said for any reason. Now, it's similar like Rishi Sunak. If he got the prime ministership of England, then it was justified because he's Indian. If he didn't get it, it's because of fucking racism, and there's no other explanation. So, and you can't placate these, but so my view is that Indians make very bad. Like you really don't want, if they want to come as students, if they want to come as on a short-term work visa or any of that, that's fine. I mean, as tourists, fine. But under any other circumstances, the integration rate for Indians, even after 4, 5, 6 generations, is around 1%. So you've really got to ask, do you want people like that still see? Is their government if they live in Australia, is their government the Australian government? No, it's not. Their government is the Indian government. That is their government. They are Indians, and that is their government. Now they'll demand all the benefits and all the handouts the white people give them, all the participation, all the power, and because they're entitled to it. But their government isn't the Australian government or the British government or anything like that. If they've been even born here or born in Britain, their government is the Indian government, and that government is the one that represents them and their interests, and they're very, very wedded to that. Now, I can give you an idea of just how entitled they are, and how much they're prepared to perceive racism. So I'm talking to one of probably the highest paid medical specialists in Australia, and he's 6th generation Western born. And Australian accent, that sort of thing, and now they live in him and his wife. His wife's been gifted some cozy job as well, again, through affirmative action quotas. So they live in one of the wealthiest suburbs in Australia. Their children to go to one of the most expensive, if not the most expensive, private school in Australia. Now their household annual income is, their cash income would be somewhere, this is after tax and all the payments, their household income would be somewhere in the $600,000 a year. Remember, that's after tax and superannuation and retirement and social security and so on. So this is the level they're at. Now they're in the top. I think it's 1 in every 2,000 households has an income like that. So they're in part of a very elite group. But sitting next to them having dinner some time ago, he smiles when he says it, but he's convinced or claims that he's been the victim of racism in Australia. So, okay, you're 1 in every, your income is so high that you're 1 out of every 2,000+ workers. You live in the most expensive suburb. You drive a Maserati. You've got this, got that, got so and so. It's hard. There'd be so few people that are better off than him that there'd be, he'd be in the top few thousand of income earners in the country, and yet he claims to be a victim of racism. But how? Oh, I just am, just am, and he'll go to something. I was in a shop the other day, and the shop owner just didn't show him the proper respect that he thought he was due, and that was it. Racism. It's fucking racism. His wife's even worse. She's convinced that she's the victim of racism every 5 minutes. And when I said to her, I find that hard to believe, given the lifestyle you're leading. She claimed that my sort of reluctance to accept that she was a victim of racism was in itself racism, which is like, wow, that's drawing a long bow. So that's the thing here. But having a look at how the Indians behave and the way they've got their genetic sort of diaspora structured and all that sort of thing, they do not make good migrants, and I think Western governments should understand that when they consider immigration policy. You've been with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.